Hello, guys. Welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's the last day of September, the 30th day, 2023. And we've been dealing with a lot of crappy weather here in the Northeast, especially in the tri state area. Yesterday, just unbelievable amounts of rain causing a lot of headaches for commuters and so forth. But today is Saturday, and it's high school football day, it's college football day, and big weekend in the NFL. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. I have my producer Eli. I'm standing behind the curtain right now till we wrap up the monologue, which of course is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summer Hill, New York. So let's jump right into it with our monologue. And monologue this week is it was a big trade in the NBA, and it's rare for me to even certainly lead with the NBA, but this was kind of certainly newsworthy, and newsworthy for a couple of reasons. Damian Lillard gets traded to in a kind of a blockbuster deal and gets traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, and this is coming off when he came out and said he wanted to be traded, that his destination he wanted to go was Miami. And I think he must have sat back and thought about this and said, well, am I going to win a championship in Miami? Because he hasn't won one. And, the legacy of athletes is always driven by how many championships they won. And so I think this is a case where, and I brought this up time and time again, how LeBron James is not only the general manager of the Lakers, but he's also the commissioner of the league. And I think in this situation, Giannis Antetokounmpo, who I consider to be probably the best player in the game. I mean, Jokic has a case for that, but athleticism wise, and he's only got one championship, and um, so he's basically the general manager. He said, "This is what we need to win a championship." I mean, he got the head coach fired last year. So I think it's more because there's only 12 players on an NBA roster, at any given time. So this was a big deal in the NBA, and I think this is exactly what Giannis wanted. Um, I think it's exactly what he thought the Bucks needed to get there, and this makes them obviously an instant favorite in the Eastern Conference. Certainly, they should walk in the Eastern Conference if Lillard. He's 11 years in the league. He's not a young guy. So, but that trade was pulled off, and I think it's all because this is what Giannis said we need to have happen. And like I said, it's really no need for general managers in the National Basketball Association because it's the star player who gets to pick who he wants to play with and who gives them the best chance to win. I mean, they all make $50 million a year, which is crazy, but this makes them an instant contender, certainly to win a championship. Got to have the big man. You got to have the point guard, and they got two of the best in the game right now. So as far as I can see, got to make them the kind of the early favorite to make the NBA championship. And I don't see any reason why Denver is going to fall off because they got their team is still intact. So I know it's rare to talk about the NBA without having to bring up Kyrie Irving and all that other nonsense, but this makes the Bucks really formidable. And so that's our monologue. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and send us an email at sports with mono and mono at gmail.com.
Yes, send them an email, or you could chat on the YouTube chats or Facebook chats, wherever you're watching today. Feel free to chat. We love to hear your thoughts, and we'll answer any questions you have or thoughts you have, as
Yeah,
well as you could follow us on Twitter at Sports with Mono.
excellent. And so, what are your thoughts on that big trade, Eli?
The big trade, honestly, it seems like he wanted it. I agree with you what you're saying with the GM stuff. I don't think that there even needs to be a point, considering the fact that it's either who you want or don't want, especially in the NBA, and it's either you make the shot or you don't make the shot. And I absolutely agree with that statement 100%. What you said with the monologue, huge trade. Milwaukee Bucks are now going to be looking really good this year, and Trailblazers, you really failed this time. That's all I got to say.
Well, listen, I mean, I don't hang the Trailblazers for this. This is what
Right.
Lillard wanted, and that's, he forced their hand. They made the decision. They drafted Scoot Henderson to rebuild around. He could be, that kind of an impactful guard type
Right.
thing. So in order for him to get time and prove whether or not he was worthy of the number 3 pick or something, whatever
Yeah.
it was, they couldn't keep Lillard anyway. So, but he's going to Milwaukee.
Absolutely.
He's going to Milwaukee. Yeah.
And other NBA news to bring up, Josh Primo is now going to be signing a 2-week contract with the Clippers. It's another extension deal, and he's been following some injuries, and now he'll be back with the Clippers again.
Yeah.
And to get to the WNBA, since we're in the playoffs now, Las Vegas Aces make it to the final, and New York Liberty and Connecticut Sun are a 2-1 record. Game 4, I believe, is tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, if not tonight.
Well, you could bank on the Liberty making this.
Oh, absolutely.
This is exactly what the WNBA needs. They need the marquee players, and that's the Stewart, the INSQs, and the Aces.
And I absolutely love this WNBA, and I love this New York Liberty team, and hopefully they can actually bring a championship to New York, because we haven't seen it in a while, and I would really love to see it. And yeah, my thoughts are, we needed this to win for this WNBA team. So let's get it done.
All right, so we covered basketball enough. So let's move on. Let's talk about college football, because last week, again, the weather was really crappy here, so it was a good day to just sit on the couch and watch games, right?
All weekend.
And there was some really, really good games. I thought the Florida State Clemson game I brought up because I wasn't 100% sold on Florida State, and I think Clemson gave away opportunities and missed the field goal to win the game at the end of regulation. And you're looking, you're going, this doesn't seem like the Clemson of old, and in fact they're not.
Right.
But that was a really good game. I think Florida State showed a lot of resiliency, and you know what? They're worthy of that number 4 position. I think whatever they are right now. That was an outstanding football game. And of course, then on the other side of the coin, right? There's been nothing but talk about prime time in Colorado, and they ran into a buzzsaw last week with Oregon. And I couldn't have been more impressed with Oregon. I mean, listen, I've been watching this kid, Bo Nix. I can't believe he's still playing college football because he was the quarterback at Auburn for what seemed like for 10 years. But they are for real, that team. They really took it and showed the country that Deion's done a great job, but the offensive line is going to get his son hurt. He's getting sacked at record numbers, but that was a great game. Bo Nix is a solid quarterback, so you got to put them back on the map as far as a real making the college football playoffs. Do not dismiss them. I know they beat a team that really isn't all together, not 100%. They got a lot of talent on the team, but that just brought them back. And listen, there's no rest for the weary. So Colorado, we're going to find out whether that was a fluke getting beat up like that, because they got a tough game this week against USC and Caleb Williams, right, front runner from the Heisman Trophy. So we're going to see how that goes. But there were some really, really outstanding games.
And a comment from Jack, from my partner from the 12th Horseshoe podcast, also on Surge Sports. He goes, Bo Nixon is the GOAT. I think we have to agree.
Yeah, no question about it. Good comment, Jack. I appreciate that because I feel the same way. He's actually started the most college football games of anything. I apologize. I don't know if it's COVID or what, but
it's allergies because I have it too. Don't worry.
Yeah. So that was good, and obviously the Ohio State Notre Dame matchup was as advertised. It was close, and
it was a game.
And you know what? I'm still real impressed with Sam Hartman. I like him. Kyle McCord is starting to mature, and that was a big win for him to go into South Bend and come out with a victory. So that gives him and his teammates confidence that they are legitimate in their own right. And like I said, the college football playoff is the ultimate goal for these teams. And Notre Dame, right back at them. They got this. They're going to run into Duke tonight, and that's a big game. It's a
absolutely
national game. Yeah. And of course, we don't assimilate with. It's kind of funny because we're seeing what's predominantly known as basketball schools, right? Kentucky and Duke and North Carolina. They now have football teams that are formidable. And this Riley Leonard for Duke as a quarterback is no joke. I don't think they're at that point where they can beat Notre Dame, but I don't think they get blown out. But hey, give them credit. To get on national television in prime time for a predominantly basketball school, that's big news for Duke. Good for them.
Absolutely.
Another team that's and I bring this up because I have a lot of friends of mine that are from Syracuse. So Syracuse is 4-0, and what's the comment, Eli?
Oh yeah, I'm so excited for the college football playoffs to expand from 4 to 12 teams next year. That was Jack again. And don't forget,
Jack, I have mixed feelings on that. I have mixed feelings on that. I think 12 is a little much. I kind of like it, the way I think 4 was maybe too little. I would have been good with a compromise of 8 teams. I think 12's a little broad for me, but it does make for good football, and it does make things exciting, but we'll see. But getting back to Syracuse, they're 4-0 for the 2 years in a row now, and they got a big game tonight. So we're going to find out whether they're for real or not, because they're playing Clemson. And I know Clemson is not the Clemson of old, but that's going to be a big game. I actually think Clemson's going to win big in this game. I don't think Syracuse is as good as people are giving them credit for, but they did rally against Army last week. They were down at halftime, and they came back and really took it to Army. But we're going to find out about teams like this, right? 4-0 is impressive, but you got to beat the big guys, and that's Clemson, whether or not they're the Clemson of old, like I said. So I'm going to keep an eye on that game. I'm looking forward to that. Nebraska, Michigan, another big game today, right?
Right. Yes.
I know this Nebraska, lost to Colorado. I don't know how sold I am on Michigan being the number 2 team in the country, though. I mean, that's a game worth watching because I know they got Blake Corum, who's a great running back, and so forth, and but I'm not so sure about them. I'm on the fence for them, so they got to take care of business against Nebraska because they got some big games. Obviously, the big game down the road is Ohio State, and that's what it's really all about for Michigan and Ohio State. Who wins that game? And Michigan's taken it to them the past couple of years, so we're going to find out who's who. Here's a team, though. I was talking about this with a young man at work, Derek, and he said, is Utah for real? And I said, you know what? I'm starting to believe. And what happens? They go out and lose to Oregon State last night. So, I mean,
don't believe too much.
That's right. But they're a good team. But, when you talk about whether you're going to turn the corner and be in that top echelon of college football teams, they were knocking on the door, but they go and lose to Oregon State, who's actually a good football team in its own right, actually. But you got to win those games. And so that's a big setback for them, I think. I was actually a believer with them, but didn't happen. So what's your big game? What's your
I would say the big watch game today is going to be that Duke and Notre Dame game today. I think that is the game to watch, considering the fact that Duke is a good school and considering the fact that Notre Dame is also coming off of a big loss to Ohio State, now trying to get a big win from North Carolina. I think it's going to be a good game. Jack commenting again, if Cam Rising was healthy, Utah is arguably the best team in the Pac-12.
That's a very good point, actually. I neglected to bring that up, that Cam Rising was not in the lineup for them. And that was, so you lose your starting quarterback. You basically, you're not going to go far without that. And he is a good quarterback, no doubt. But good point, Jack. I'll take that. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll find out. But college football is starting to heat up. We're getting into the conference schedules and so forth, but arguably right now, and I don't think there's any debate, right? Georgia is the number one team in this country until somebody knocks them off. They're two-time defending champs, and rightfully so. And Kirby Smart has, he's an unbelievable recruiter now. That's the place to go. So,
right.
They're leading the pack, and rightfully so. But we're 5 weeks into the college football season. Long way to go. Upsets are gonna happen and stuff, but we're gonna see, because I don't see anybody being able to knock Georgia off at this point. But like I said, there's still 5 more games to go in college football. So
absolutely,
big schedule today in college football. Big schedule.
I agree 100%.
Yep. So let's move on to the professional ranks, right?
Yes.
The National Football
Upsets
League,
of the week, let's say that.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on here. And if you're from New York, you know the big topic of conversation, right, is the New York Jets. And the chain of events that has happened. The fan base is just outraged over this Zach Wilson thing. And you know what? I mean, I will admit, when he was the second player picked in the draft, I was all on board with it. I thought he was going to be a legitimate NFL player, but he is struggling. And it's not going to get any better, because they're just going to boo him right out of the stadium tomorrow night. They got a tough game against the Chiefs, which is, obviously the Taylor Swift Bowl, if you will.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. She'll be there. So, yeah, Taylor Swift Bowl.
Yeah, which is more of a conversation than the Jets and Zach Wilson. But the Jets really haven't done anything to improve this situation. Yeah, they signed Trevor Siemian, who's kind of a B player anyway, but he does have some experience. He did play with the Jets, so he may know the system a little bit. But yeah, this could get ugly for Zach Wilson. His confidence is just absolutely shot, and he has no support from anybody. For crying out loud, Joe Namath came out and said, "You can't even."
When he says that, when he says that, that is a problem, because one of the greatest of all time saying that comment, that is a problem.
I know.
And Jack says Kirk Cousins to the Jets is really intriguing. There you go.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. The Vikings aren't going to throw in the towel. I mean, yes, they're 0-3. They're kind of reeling, but I don't think that's even a possibility that's going to happen. So that's good talk. You still got some other guys that you could, reach out to, the Wentzes, the Brissetts, those kind of guys. But the season it's already too late to bring in a Kirk Cousins to make an impact on the Jets. And you're going to have to give up a lot of draft capital to get him. I don't see that happening.
Absolutely. I don't see it happening at all. They went out to a lot of people already. The Jets are not going to pick up something because of how late they are into the season. And the fact that their bye week is further than any other team than usual, that's also set back, because then you have no time to practice, especially that you play within 6 days. And you want to recap all those players. For Zach Wilson, what I have to say is Zach Wilson. There isn't much I could add to that, except that he is not supposed to be there. But yet again, it's not fully something you blame on him, as everybody practiced all the plays and stuff Aaron Rodgers is used to. Nobody practiced with Zach Wilson. Nobody knows it. The only people that know how Zach Wilson works are the people that are currently not on that bench for the New York Jets that were cut out.
Yeah.
And that is a huge problem.
I think the problem here, though, it's not only the fan base, but you saw what took place on the sideline with Garrett Wilson going over and basically, So the players don't have confidence in him, and that's only going to deteriorate
Right.
Zach Wilson's
But the
own
thing is,
confidence level.
but how I look at it is, if you had so much confidence so many years ago when you signed him, had the same confidence now. And remember, you did not train the plays with Zach Wilson. You trained the plays with the GOAT Aaron Rodgers. So how could you can't fully blame Wilson, as he has a different mindset compared to what Aaron Rodgers has, and the players are not seeming to meet eye to eye because of not going over stuff with him. And I think that is a crucial problem.
And his confidence is just going to be, just absolutely non-existent, because everybody, not one person has come out in support of him, not the players, not, other than Robert Saleh saying the right things is what a coach is supposed to do.
Absolutely. And I agree with Saleh, though. You have to have somewhat faith in him, because you did not prepare as a coach what the backups would be with Wilson. Instead, you focus just on Aaron Rodgers. And I think that's why he's trying to do all his best to keep quiet, because he knows what he's doing. But we don't see, some people don't see eye to eye when it comes to those cases. But,
and listen,
we'll see what happens after this week.
So also in New York, right? The Giants, they're sitting at 1-2. They got your Seahawks. What's it? Monday night?
Monday night on ABC and ESPN.
I'm sure you'll be in attendance at that game.
I'll be at the attendance of that game as well as Jack. We'll both be at the game. We have it ready. We're good.
I think this is a very, very important game for the Giants. I think they can take care of business against Seattle.
Nope.
I know your opinion, but that's okay.
It's okay. Agree to disagree.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So listen, a couple other storylines in the NFL, right? And again, we just saw Thursday night, right, that I was pulling for the Packers. I'm pulling for Jordan Love, because I think he was, treated unfairly with this whole Aaron Rodgers situation. So it took him, this is his third year in the league, and I think he's still going to be a good player. But the Packers, they're just not there. They don't have enough around them, and they went down and they got beat by this Detroit Lions team. That's another storyline. Are these guys for real? And they seem to be. I told you I don't have a lot of confidence, though, in Jared Goff, but he's doing all the right things.
And a comment from Jack: can't wait to go to the game. I'll be decked out in all the Colts gear. Yeah, I'll be in Seattle, so we'll be the only two represented.
Just for our loyal listener base, this is Eli and his partner on the 12th Horseshoe, Jack, and they're loyalists. Jack's a Colts fan, Eli's a Seahawks fan. I'm a Giants fan.
We support our teams, and
the
middle guy.
But you guys bet with your heart. You don't play with your head. That's what you guys got. Right. I'm a realist here, so I look for the Giants to bounce back against that. But we'll do our picks in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get to the picks. I'm excited for that.
And here's the other. What I'm thinking kind of is one of the bigger stories is this Miami Dolphins team and the kind of turnaround that this guy McDaniel has done. I kept saying for years, especially last year when he was getting hurt a lot, that I didn't think Tua had that NFL caliber arm, to be that kind of a performer. But they're exceeding my expectations by a long shot. I mean, obviously putting up 70 points in an NFL game is, incredible. But that may be just as much a reflection on this other point I wanted to bring up, especially I like Sean Payton, but he went on record and said what an embarrassment Nathaniel Hackett and the Broncos organization was last year, and they've picked up right where they left off. They're not a formidable team.
Nope.
So you got to be careful. If you want to talk, you got to back it up. And right now, Sean Payton is looking pretty bad.
If you watch the 12th Horseshoe podcast, you know how I feel about Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. And here's what I'm going to say quickly. The Denver Broncos allowed 70 points, the most high-scoring game in NFL history. How is that possible? Russell Wilson was not fully to blame in last week's game, but he is absolutely the problem. Clearly, Sean Payton is not the answer, and it clearly is the management and who is on that team. And I think that's what needs to change for this Denver Broncos teams. And guess what? They play the Bears tomorrow. And if they lose tomorrow, which they will, spoiler alert, then yeah, I
I
don't think I
know
have faith.
this whole thing, it's so unbelievable that Russell Wilson, and I've been a Russell Wilson fan for forever. I mean, I remember watching him in college, and I said, this kid's a player. And then Pete Carroll gives him the chance, and he starts, and he took advantage of that, became a Super Bowl winning quarterback, could do no wrong, and now he can do no right. It's kind of amazing. That's the lifespan of an NFL player. You're on top at some point, right?
And your
And you
decline
see it.
begins.
Right. You see it time and time again, whether it be injury or whatnot, right? Like it just seems like a few years ago that we were watching J.J. Watt every Sunday and going, this is one of the best players we've seen in defense in a long, long time. And now he's retired due to injury. So I don't know if it's injuries, if it's the system, or if Russell Wilson has just lost enthusiasm for the game, but he's certainly not the same player that he was with the Seattle Seahawks.
100% agree.
Yep. So anyways, a lot of stuff. We're going to get to our picks in just a moment, but and this is a passion of mine, the Hall of Fame, right? So, right, just the past year, I was finally vindicated by Joe Klecko getting his rightful place in the Hall of Fame. And so there were the nominees for 2024 came out. And it's a long list. So when Steve and I, Steve was doing the show with us, we would just say a name and say right away, yes or no. And, there's a long list of players. So I'm going to give you guys 4 players that I say belong in the Hall of Fame. I have no problem if they get in their first year of eligibility. One of them's a kind of a senior guy, Randy Gradishar, who I've said, just like Joe Klecko, I can't believe he's not in the Hall of Fame. He was an outstanding linebacker, but he just got overshadowed because that was the era of the Steel Curtain and Jack Lambert and the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Randy Gradishar, if he doesn't get in, that's a big injustice. But some of the new guys, and I'm going to give you 3 guys that I just said right off the bat, yes, Hall of Fame. Julius Peppers, absolutely. A great dominating player for a couple of teams. No problem with him. Antonio Gates. And when you talk about the tight end position, right, there's not a lot of guys out there that you can say for sure, but this guy was a dominant player. And listen, he was, Phillip Rivers threw to him time and time again. Phillip Rivers had a great career, didn't win anything, but Antonio Gates, absolutely. And here's one that a lot of fans may say, wow, yeah, Monahan, where'd you come up with this guy? But I thought Dwight Freeney, when he played, so Jack, you know who Dwight Freeney is, I'm sure. Dwight Freeney kind of flew under the radar for years and years and years, but he was a dominant defensive end for the Indianapolis Colts. And I have no problem with him getting in the Hall of Fame at all. Couple of maybes, right? And here's a name from the old Buffalo Bills Jim Kelly era, was Cornelius Bennett, linebacker.
Jack said Reggie Wayne better make it.
I don't disagree. I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I do believe he will get into the Hall of Fame, but these were my must get in picks first. But the couple other ones, and I'm going to put Reggie Wayne, on the list of the maybes, which when I say maybe, you got to wait a year, 2 years, whatever. So first guy I was bringing up was Cornelius Bennett, who was a linebacker for the Buffalo Bills, and he was a dominant player on those 4 Super Bowl teams. And his name never comes up. I don't understand why. But I think he should go in. And yes, Jack, I'd put Reggie Wayne in this, but you got to wait a year or 2. And one other guy, First ballot Hall of Famer, I'm not so sure, but Torrey Holt, I think at some point in time, he has a case to make the Hall of Fame. And he played on some wild, explosive offensive teams with Kurt Warner and the greatest show on turf. So those are my Hall of Fame picks. I'd
Right.
love to hear your thoughts and comments. I know James Walsh from Long Island is listening to the show, and Jim pointed out to us one time, that we were hemming and hawing on a couple of guys. So I said, right now, I'm going to come out and say these guys should go, these guys should wait, these guys don't belong, and there's my list. So
Yeah, good list.
yeah, it is a good list. One local name though that came up, I remember Dave Zott from Clifton, and I think Dave Zott played kind of around my time frame. He's on the list. Not that he's going to make it, but he went to Penn State and had a good career with the Kansas City Chiefs. But to even be in the discussion is high praise enough. But getting in the Hall of Fame, you got to earn your stripes. That's for sure, right?
Yeah.
So let's go. Let's jump into our picks, Eli. And last week
Absolutely.
I was 2-1. I lost on the Packers, right? They had the
Yeah.
game in the bag and they let it slip away against New Orleans. So
No, Packers won.
I know. No.
Yeah.
I mean, the Packers won, right? I had New Orleans. That's right. I had New Orleans. Yeah. So here's my 3 picks for this week, and then you can follow up with yours, right? So Atlanta at Jacksonville. And now everybody was picking Jacksonville to be the big surprise team, and Trevor Lawrence is starting to turn the corner as a major quarterback. I like them to bounce back against Atlanta. Outside of Bijan Robinson, I don't know that Desmond Ridder is mature enough to do. I think he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I think they're in a good place by keeping him there. But I'm going to take Jacksonville in that game. And here's kind of a crappy game, which is Tampa Bay and New Orleans. But I don't know if Carr is playing or not. I don't know. But if not, they got Jameis Winston. I like for New Orleans to bounce back after that, tough game in Green Bay. So I like them. And my third game. And listen, I've gone on record. I like Mac Jones a lot. I really, really do. And the defense is Christian Gonzalez, the number 1 pick for New England. Excellent player. But I just think they're missing some key components. I don't know if Zeke Elliott's going to help them with the running game. So I'm going to take Dallas over New England, especially with, Dallas. So those are my 3 picks: Jacksonville, New Orleans, and Dallas.
Atlanta over Jacksonville, 24-17. Atlanta's the better team. And considering the fact they're in London, that gives Atlanta the better advantage. Jacksonville played horrible. And despite them playing 2 games there and owning London, I don't think I can trust Jacksonville a lot, especially when you lost to the Texans. The game and I'll be watching the Disney Plus version, the Toy Story broadcast, not the ESPN Plus regular. So you can see me there.
I will not be watching that version.
So. All right. For the Saints game, I'm going to also have to take the Saints, 25-21. The Saints are the better team. Bucs disappointed me despite that horrible call the refs made during that Eagles game. That got me annoyed. And, and then finally, and I'll add 2 more extra bonus ones at the end. I'm taking the Patriots over the Dallas Cowboys, 30-28. Patriots are by far the better team. And that's 2 bonus ones. Bears over Broncos, 6-3, the final. And
wait,
also,
who was the one you just said? Your first one. You think New England over Dallas?
New England over Dallas.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's 2 bonus ones. I'm taking the Bears over the Broncos, 6-3.
Oh, God.
And I'm also taking the Arizona Cardinals on the upset to beat the San Francisco 49ers. Final score 27-25. You might be thinking I'm crazy.
You must be playing with somebody else's money.
No, I like Arizona. If they could beat the Dallas Cowboys, they can go in there and beat San Francisco. And despite them being the best team in the NFL, Arizona's got it down pat. They've cut it too
Okay.
close for 2 weeks. Arizona's got my vote.
Okay. Okay. So that's it for the National
Call me
Football
crazy, but
League.
that's it.
Yeah, call you crazy. All right, crazy. All right. So we can wrap up real quick on Major League Baseball races. Who's going to get in? Who's not going to get in? It's coming down to the last week of the season. Real interesting is the Seattle and the Houston and the Texas thing. Who's going to win the division? Who's going to get in as a wild card? But again, I brought it up, and Ronald Acuna Jr., another club, the 40-70 club, for crying out loud. I mean, it's amazing the year that he's had.
Jeez.
And I could see a possibility, because obviously he should be a shoe-in for the MVP in the National League. But how about Matt Olson? He's got 54 home runs. I mean, there's a chance we could see co-MVPs from the same team. I'm not ruling that out.
I think I'm gonna have to agree with that one. I could see that possibly happening, and the way everything's been lately, I agree. It's very rare, and yeah, they got it for sure.
Yeah, but Yankee fans and Met fans will be watching from the sidelines as the playoffs begin in a couple of weeks.
With the tears.
Anyway, so that is enough. Enough about football and stuff. So baseball right now, like winding down, and then the playoffs begin. And you know what? It's like I said, it's going to be tough to beat those Atlanta Braves, but anything can happen in any series at any time, and we've seen it time and time again, especially with the Braves back in the Greg Maddux, Smoltz, and Glavine days. I mean, they had the best team on paper, and they won time and time again, but they only came away with one World Series championship in that era. So you never know what's going to happen. But baseball is winding down, and we'll be talking about the awards, the MVPs, and I think Derek Cole pitched a gem the other night in Toronto. Not that the game meant anything, but I think he earned his Cy Young in New York. So that's for sure.
Right.
Right. So let's move on. A couple of random points of interest, right, Eli?
Yes, I have a lot. So
right. So sponsored, of course, by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut, and like I said, loyal supporter of our show, and we appreciate him very, very much. Just a couple of quick points here. Megan Rapinoe, finally, or Rapinoe, however you want to pronounce it, has finally retired. So the spokesman for this women's movement is going to move into a different forum. Don't expect her to go away. She's just not going to be playing, but she's going to still be a presence in women's soccer one way or the other. Very interesting thing. And we got to bring up Haley Van Voorhees. And a lot of people are going to go, who? Rightfully so.
who?
She's a woman who plays on the Shenandoah Valley Division III football team, actually got into the game and registered a quarterback pressure. So that's historic, right? We've seen women sometimes get in as a kicker or something like that, but she actually got into the game.
Wow.
And that's a milestone. So remember that name, because that's very big.
Yeah.
And just what we suspected, right? A couple of weeks ago, I talked about Mel Tucker and Michigan State, and I said, first of all, I thought he was the most overpaid college football coach in the game. He never has done anything to warrant the contract they gave him. And then he gets caught up in this sexual harassment situation. And just like I said, as soon as it happened, I said, there's no tolerance for this stuff in sports at all anymore. So I said, Mel Tucker has coached his last game at Michigan State.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Absolutely.
So one other quick random point, because watching it as we speak, the Ryder Cup, and you know how much that means to me, but this is not looking good for the U.S. team right now. They're down 9.5 to 2.5. And that's a big gap to close in the next 2 days. But we'll see how that goes. But that's happening right now. The matches are pretty close, actually, today. So they could pick up a couple of points, but if they lose any of these things, the magic number for Europe is 11.5, and they're not that far away. So this is going to be a big disappointment for the United States if they can't bounce back from this.
Absolutely.
So, all right, go ahead. Those are my random points. Go ahead.
All right, so the Devils have officially started their preseason. They start 3-0, thankfully. And the final NHL news is the Flames will play at the Oilers for the Heritage Classic, sponsored by Tim Horton, for the 20th consecutive year. Is when they'll be playing this matchup. It's the 20th year for the Outdoor Heritage Classic game that only occurs in Canada. Switching up back to football, Usher will be performing at the Apple Music halftime show for Super Bowl 58. If you're into music and if you're into Usher, I know a lot of people aren't. The NFL and NFL Players Association have some new policies with change in the gambling rules. There was a lot happening. For full details, I'm not going to go too much in detail. You can watch our show for that 12 Horseshoe podcast. We broke it down yesterday on the show. Rams extended Tyler Higbee's contract for a 3-year, $17 million deal. Bills safety Damar Hamlin will get a start with Jordan Pryor out tomorrow. So that'll be huge, especially playing the Miami Dolphins, the game of the week. I have the Dolphins winning that one. And the USFL and XFL are merging, which is super cool. We never saw that coming, and deals and more changes are going to be happening soon, and full details are announced between ESPN's pages and the USFL's websites. And those are my
all right. Two quick responses to you. I think Buffalo is going to beat Miami. And, the one notable change in this gambling policy, and it kills me that we have to continuously talk about this gambling, being that the NFL is basically sponsored by FanDuel and DraftKings.
Right.
If you bet, I think the most notable change is if you bet on your own team, and that bumps up from a year to 2 years. And in reality, if you're betting on your own team, you should be banned from the game altogether. Period.
Absolutely.
That's not a big thing. So they're going to let these kids bet, but they can't do it in the facilities and so forth. It's just the whole gambling thing makes.
I like the rule changes. They made smart changes, smart moves, and I like it.
Yeah. Okay. So also let's a couple of big games. I know you covering your St. Mary's game today. Yes. I'll be attending the St. Joe's game against Donovan Catholic at St. Joe's today. But this is the precursor to 2 weeks from today on October 15th. It'll be St. Joe's and the number one team in the state, Bergen Catholic.
Oh, and that is a game of the week.
Big game. That's going to be a big game.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so that'll be the game of the week in New Jersey in 2 weeks. But hey, you got to take care of business first. St. Joe's is 4-1, and we'll see about that. But that takes place. It's starting to rain again here in the Northeast. So if you're going to be out and
in the Mud Bowl,
yeah, we tell people to get out and catch a high school game. Bring your umbrella today. But I'm going rain or shine.
Absolutely. Yeah, St. Mary's takes on Woodridge Blue Devils today. St. Mary's took a victory last week to Wallington, 48-14. They're expecting a big win today. This is technically their last game according to the schedule before they play league crossovers or league playoffs. According to the schedule, we do not know which one's going to come first, but we know one of them will happen. From my understanding, we should be able to get one more home game in, but that is to be determined because we still got to play senior night. I don't know all the details yet, but for right now, it's our tentative last game is today.
Right. And I was looking because we, obviously we're from this area. I'm a St. Joe's guy or a St. Mary's guy, but I look at the national schedule and I was looking at it. The number one team in the country, high school, is Made or Die. And so when I bring up Bergen Catholic, they're the number one team in New Jersey. There's a team from Florida, Chaminade Madonna, who really took it to Bergen Catholic a few weeks ago. But from a Northeast perspective, they are the number one team. They have a right to be there until somebody knocks them off. So that'll be a good game. So, like I said, high school football is awesome. Saturday afternoons, get out and catch a game. So here's our movie recommendation segment, sports movie. And I got one if you don't. And okay, let me preface this. This is the original, The Longest Yard, the one with Burt Reynolds. This was back in the
Right.
70s, right? I know they did a remake with Adam Sandler or something, which I can't tell you anything about because I refuse to watch it. Because a remake of a classic is impossible to top. So, but the original with Burt Reynolds and an all-star cast is phenomenal. It's funny. And if you haven't seen it, I bet you haven't seen that, Eli, right?
Yeah, I don't think I have, but I heard of the movie and I heard the Sandler version of it. So yeah.
Yeah, this is the Burt Reynolds version of it. Let's
Yeah.
not confuse things.
Let's not confuse with things around. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So anyway, we move on to our notable passing segment.
Yes. Do you want the phone an hour after?
Yeah. I'm going to start our notable passing with a big name in Major League Baseball. Brooks Robinson.
Yeah.
Brooks Robinson was probably, I don't know if it's even probably, I don't think anybody could debate that. He was the best third baseman in the history of the game.
100% agree.
And I remember watching Brooks Robinson. I remember watching him in the World Series when I was a real young kid. He made some unbelievable plays. He was a World Series MVP in 1970 and also won a American League MVP. I mean, not the fastest guy, not a 300 lifetime hitter, but he was, just his play at third base was so awesome. And there's some footage if you haven't seen it. And you know how I respect Tim Kurkjian from a Major League Baseball perspective on ESPN. He is the baseball guy, and the things that he had to say about Brooks Robinson were awesome. I mean, he was known as Mr. Oriole. He was known as the human vacuum cleaner. And there was a great statement, and I don't know who said it, but when I heard it, I thought it was just a great line. They said, when Reggie Jackson came to the New York Yankees, he said, they'll name a candy bar after me. And they did, the Reggie bar.
Wow.
In Baltimore, they named children after Brooks Robinson. That's
wow.
how popular
that was. Is popular.
So that's a big loss for the game of baseball and sports in general. He was just a class act the whole way, and a big loss for Major League. Yep.
Yeah. Can't agree.
And one other, I have an actor who passed away, was David McCallum. And David McCallum was in one of my all-time favorite movies, was The Great Escape, war movie and so forth. And he played Dispersal, the character Pitt. He was in that, but he was also known for being in the TV series in the 60s, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And apparently, I never watched it, but he was on NCIS for many years. Yeah. He was 90 years old. You would recognize the face. Been in a lot of movies. That's a passing from Hollywood that was certainly worth noting.
Absolutely. And I have three of them, which I can't believe you didn't get them. The longest serving female senator in the United States history for California has died. Diana Feinstein has died yesterday at the age of 90. Has died in 1933 was the year she was born. Feinstein. There you go. Feinstein. Michael Gambon, who was the Professor Dumbledore in Harry Potter, has died. He appeared in 6 movies for Harry Potter and died at the age of 62. And Nick Caradiles, who played with the Ducks, Anaheim Ducks, died last Saturday and was born in 1994. He died as well. He was about 30 years old. So thoughts and prayers as always.
I got to be honest. I don't know him from the Ducks. Being on the East Coast, we don't see the Ducks play very often.
And especially that they're not a good team, we don't usually see them. So this is absolutely the reason why I wouldn't expect anybody to know his name. But we have to always mention them because if they play in sports or play a crucial part in our world that people love, we have to always mention them.
Oh, no question. And I think you have a picture there for me.
Yes, I do.
To bring up, right?
Yes, it's from Target.
Every now and then I put one of them on, and then I put the other one on, but those are my 3 grandchildren.
The trio.
So I'm putting them on together. Those are my babies.
There you go.
Yeah. And like I said, my grandson's playing football now, and the little guys someday going to be a football player, and we'll see. But
Jeez.
those are my babies. Those are my babies.
Wow. It's awesome to
So
hear.
Eli, another good show. I think we covered a
Yes.
lot of stuff.
A lot of topics.
And you got your game today. So good luck with that. And
Yes.
the weather's not cooperating, so I don't know how that's going to affect your broadcast. But
For right now, we are good to go because they said rain's supposed to stop after 11, and if not, we'll put an umbrella up.
Yep. Well, listen, folks. I again, we appreciate
Thank you
listening to our show every week. I get a lot of feedback, and Eli, when they're talking, some people make comments. Sometimes we get things right, sometimes we don't. But we take all of our feedback constructively and do
Yes.
everything we can to improve. And Eli, from a production perspective, has taken us to the next level. And when people comment, that means people are listening. And
that's
we
always a
thank
positive.
all of those people that do listen. And we'll get a few more listeners every single week. And
Yes.
like I said, we enjoy doing this because I think it's something, A, that we know, and B, we enjoy
That
the
we love.
interaction. We love it. So, of course, you can always send us an email at sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com. Or like Eli said, you can post comments on Twitter, Facebook, and all those, YouTube, and so forth.
Yes.
So
feel free to comment. We'll be glad to answer them.
we love to hear your feedback, and we'll bring it up on the show the following week. So,
yes,
Eli, you have a great week. Enjoy
You
your game Monday night. You're gonna unfortunately go home disappointed.
I disagree. I think they're going to be going happy. I think the Giants fans are going to go home. It seems like every time I go to a Giants game, they go home crying. Happened with the Seattle, happened with the Jets. Let's make it a trio party. So,
all right.
Sorry, Giants
Well,
fans.
listen, there'll be 75,000 people there. There'll be one guy I'm rooting for Seattle, but and that's you. But I don't think it's going to happen. But enjoy the game anyway.
All right.
Have yourself a good week, and
Yes.
folks, we look forward. We'll be here back at Eli 10 o'clock next week.
Yes, 10 o'clock next
10?
week, unless there is a 10 o'clock next week, unless there's a game change.
All right. Well, you'll advertise and let our loyal listener base know. All right. I'll see you then, kid. Have a great week.
All right. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you.